I have a problem. Ever since my injury, I've had a bad habit of looking at the keyboard when I type. On top of that, I type with one finger, so typing becomes very slow. Sometimes, I wouldn't notice caps lock was on and I'd type out my whole message. Resulting in this. I would end up having to retype the whole thing, which was annoying when working with time-sensitive material. My solution to this was, in premise, very simple. I set it up so that when I press these three keys, the last text I copied is fed into my case changer algorithm, then the new text is added to the copy history. Here is an example of how it could be used in practice. This video is in real time. Thank you all so much for watching. If you'd like to learn how I did this, please continue watching. So this solution was twofold. First, I wrote a case-changing algorithm. Then I set up a global hotkey to activate my algorithm at any point. Let's break down each part separately. Accomplishing the case-changing algorithm was the easiest part of this. I will break down this snippet line by line. This whole thing is in a try. Catch in the case that text is not on the clipboard. First, I use a C# built-in to get the last string on the clipboard. Next, I create a new container for my result. This starts a loop, going through each character of the string. I then cast the char to a byte. A value of 90 is the letter capital Z in the ASCII table. If the code is below or equal to 90, I call to lower on the character. Else I call to upper. Finally, I set the result to the clipboard. Clearing the clipboard empty is what is currently there. To get this to work on a global scale is another beast entirely. To accomplish this task, I needed to import part of the user 32DLL. Here I just passed in the current Windows handle. Here I just passed in an ID number I could use later. In this case, ID ends up being AW param later. FS modifiers are modifier keys to use with my hotkey. Multiple could be used because values are all powers of 2. Finally, we pass in AVK, or virtual key code. Altogether, this was my function call. I was careful to unregister my hotkey too. The next part deals with messages sent to the window. It's important to note that Windows sends messages constantly to running Windows, even when minimized. I just intercept it. Here I define a function that overrides the normal window process. Next, I check two things. First, I check if the message sent is equal to WM hotkey. WM hotkey just stands for Windows Message Hotkey. So if the message has the value 0 by 312, I check the value of the W param. W param is that ID I set earlier. If true, I call that function from earlier. Finally, I call whatever Windows was going to do. This is the same video from before but sped up. Notice how my finger never leaves the control key throughout this process. This was done purposely. Thank you all so much for watching. Feel free to leave any questions regarding this in the comments section.